Welcome, brave ones. On this channel, we don't just watch horror animation. We peel back each story to expose the rot beneath, share perspectives, and connect through the darkness. Tonight, we're diving into a story that's more than just horror. It's a reflection of pain, betrayal, and the haunting beauty of karma. In ancient Japan, people believed that souls consumed by betrayal never truly vanish. They linger, turning into onrai, vengeful spirits, bound by sorrow and revenge. Among the countless whispers carried through Kyoto's mist, one tale stands out, the story of a woman whose neck stretched endlessly into the night. She was once a devoted wife, a believer in love and trust. But when deception replaced affection, and silence became the world's answer to her cries, her spirit transformed into legend, Rokurokubi. Comment your thoughts below, hit like, share this with fellow night dwellers, and tap super thanks to support this dark journey. Now, let's begin.
I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, hands clutching my throat like I was choking. It was just a dream. That's what I kept telling myself. But the pain in my neck felt real, like something had been stretched, like I had been hanged and survived. In the dream, my neck had stretched, impossibly long, like an eel gliding through the dark. I floated weightless, led by my own head through the night, past sliding doors and into the garden. That's where I saw them. My husband and a girl, no older than 20. She giggled at something he whispered. He brushed her cheek the way he used to brush mine. And then they kissed, bold and unashamed. Except I was there, or at least my head was. And when he noticed it, my face, my floating head, he screamed and swung his katana. A blur of silver flashed, and I woke up. I sat there, knees drawn to my chest, watching him sleep. His breath was slow, steady, undisturbed, like he hadn't just appeared in my nightmare with another woman. The image still burned behind my eyes. A nightmare, I told myself. A trick of the mind. But deep down, I knew better. That wasn't a dream, it was a warning. In the days that followed, I began to see it. The scent of strange incense on his robes, not the kind I burned for the altar or wore on my sleeves. It lingered, delicate and wrong. One evening, folding his inner kimono, I noticed a faint red smear along the collar. At first, I thought it was crushed plum blossom, but when I touched it, it smeared Benny, lip dye, the kind worn by young courtesans. He laughed when I asked.
Probably from the crowd by the river. Some drunk girl stumbled too close.
But I knew. No one touches a magistrate's robes, not by accident. When I confronted him, he smiled. Not with guilt, but with calm dismissal.
Your mind is too wild. You'll drive yourself mad with superstition. You'll make yourself sick.
Later, I overheard him whispering to his mother, saying I was losing my balance, that I might need rest. She pulled me aside in the garden days later, her hand cold on my wrist.
You mustn't let jealousy consume you. Wear your crimson kimono again. Put on makeup the way he used to like.
I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear my head from my shoulders and fling it at the wall. But I didn't. I bowed. I smiled. I poured tea like a good wife. And every night I dreamed of my neck growing longer, slithering through darkness, creeping toward truth. No one believed me. Not the other women at the market, not the shrine maiden I sought for advice. They all spun the same tale, that I was unstable, that I was unraveling. And he was the victim of a clingy, insecure wife. Then came the night. He was unusually tender. He brought me tea himself, said it was a calming blend from Kyoto.
For your nerves.
He smiled. I should have known. The taste was bitter, unfamiliar, but I drank it anyway, because I still wanted to believe him. I collapsed near the hallway, and from the corner of my fading vision, I saw him, standing over me, watching. Then, darkness. When I awoke, I couldn't move. My arms hung useless, my throat burned. From rope. He had strung me up from the ceiling beam. My body swayed gently, helplessly. I could hear him moving in the other room, opening jars, striking flint. The scent of lantern oil filled the air. He was setting the house on fire. The flames moved quickly, licking through the shoji walls, devouring everything we built. Smoke poured in, thick and choking. My lungs heaved, but the noose bit deeper. I should have died, but I didn't. Not yet. In that moment between fire and breath, I felt something rise in me. A pull, a pressure. My spine cracked, my throat expanded, my neck stretched. It didn't stop, longer and longer. Until my feet touched the floor again, though I still hung. Until the rope no longer choked me, only the memory of it. Drifting upward, my neck snaking through the fire like a silk banner of death. I slipped out of the burning frame, silent and weightless, into the cold night. Later, the neighbors whispered. They said they saw something rise from the fire. A woman's head, a twisting neck, a floating curse. They gave it a name, Rokurokubi. I became a breath beneath the door, a shadow above the futon, a nightmare woven into tatami. I whispered to unfaithful men. I curled my neck through their walls. I watched them shatter one by one. But the man I was looking for, he had vanished. Until that night, I found him in a new town, a new house, a new wife, pregnant. He still wore that smug, gentle face, the one he used when lying, when controlling. He had rebuilt his life. But I had not forgotten. That night, I slipped through the floorboards of their home. She lay asleep beside him, her belly full. He snored softly, unaware. I hovered above him, my neck stretched like a vine, my face inches from his. His eyes opened, and he screamed. He lunged for the katana beneath the futon, the same katana he once threatened me with in silence. He swung, steel met phantom flesh. My head fell to the tatami with a soft thud. Then it turned and smiled, because you cannot kill what you've already murdered. The woman stirred beside him.
What's happening?
My neck began to coil. Around his legs, his waist, his arms, his throat. It slithered tight and then it rotted. Flesh decayed on contact, black veins blooming beneath his skin. His body shuddered. The face on the floor, mine, began to crack. The eyes clouded, the skin peeled, the mouth opened. I looked at them both, his frozen terror, her rising scream, and whispered, "I will always come back, because my neck still stretches, and the longer it grows, the closer I get, and you cannot escape your karma."
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're not just looking at the famous Japanese spirit, the Rokurokubi, the long-necked monster. No, we are diving deep into one specific, really chilling origin story. Our source material gives us this incredible narrative, and this deep dive is basically our way to understand how this story turns betrayal, psychological pain, and isolation into this, well, monstrous immortal curse.
Exactly, and that transformation is absolutely key here. This isn't just some collection of folklore tales. It reads more like a psychological thriller, doesn't it? Where the victim of this awful abuse literally becomes a physical horror. Our source really focuses on the downward spiral of this ordinary wife, driven way past sanity, and what she becomes is this embodiment of unleashed.
Unleashed. Okay, that's a heavy term. For listeners who might not know, what does that really mean in this specific story?
Oh, it's vital, yeah. Unleashed translates roughly, to a vengeful spirit, but it's got a much deeper resonance than just ghost. It implies this profound, consuming resentment, a deep, almost eternal malice that's born from just immense injustice and suffering. That's what fuels the spirit's entire existence. And this narrative we're looking at today, it shows us the sort of meticulous steps needed to create that specific, all-consuming vengeance.
Right. That sets the stage perfectly then. So our mission today is to track that emotional collapse. We'll look at the signs of betrayal that, well, turned this woman into an Owen line, and really see how all that suffering manifests as the physical horror of the Rokurokubi. Okay, let's unpack this. So the tragedy kicks off not with something physical, but with this horrifying psychological preview, a dream. But it's so vivid, it just instantly blurs that line between sleep and waking. The source material gives us this shocking initial vision. She dreams her head just separates from her body. And it doesn't just float around randomly. It's described as being guided like an eel gliding through the dark, seeking something.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that the physical aspect of the curse, the head separating, it happens in the dream before she even has solid proof. That stretching neck, it's almost like a premonition, right? Mm-hmm. A physical projection of her inner desperation to just see the truth, to break free from her body, her, very restrictive life.
And this floating head, it leads her right to the thing she dreads most. She sees her husband in the garden with a younger girl, the source says no older than 20. And they're kissing, described as bold and unashamed. I mean, the dream is just forcing her to see the complete breakdown of her world.
But the really terrifying part, the bit that seals the trauma, is the climax of that vision. Her husband spots the floating head, her face. He screams, thinks it's a ghost, naturally, and grabs his katana. There's this blur of silver flashed, and then boom, she wakes up feeling this agony in her throat like she'd been hanged or nearly beheaded. Real pain.
That pain is the bridge, isn't it? From the subconscious warning to physical reality. She knows instantly that wasn't a dream, it was a warning. So what proof does she find? What confirms the husband's guilt and validates that horrible vision?
Well, the evidence is subtle at first, which reflects his sneakiness, really, but it's damning. Two specific things. First, this scent of strange incense on his robes. And crucially, this isn't the normal household incense for prayers or anything. No, it's delicate, exotic, the kind associated with, pleasure houses, courting, proof he has a life outside their home.
Okay, so that's one piece. And the second piece is even more specific, you said. It points to the age of the other woman.
Exactly. Precise. She finds this faint red smear on his collar, and she instantly identifies it as Benny lip dye. Historically, that was used by, young courtesans, certain performers maybe. It's such a specific detail. It basically screams transgression and the specificity that just fuels her desperation, you see.
But okay, she confronts him.
Right.
With the incense, the dye, but he doesn't crack.
Not at all. He smiles. And this is where we see what we now call, pure psychological violence. Gaslighting.
How does he react specifically?
It's systematic denial. He just brushes off her discoveries, says the ravings of an overly anxious, superstitious mind. He actually tells her, your mind is too wild, you'll drive yourself mad with superstition. And And that act, that calm, deliberate refusal to acknowledge her reality, her proof, that's the first real step in, like manufacturing the monster he later accuses her of being. He's trying to erase her sanity before he, well, tries to erase her life.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that's where the Yonanlin, the vengeful spirit, really starts to form, isn't it? It's not just the cheating, it's the gaslighting, forcing her to doubt her own eyes, her own mind. But it gets worse, doesn't it? This spreads.
Oh yeah, it doesn't stay private. The narrative shows he didn't just deny it to her face. He actively starts isolating her. He begins whispering to his own mother, telling her his wife is losing my balance. This isn't just, marital problems anymore. He's methodically wrecking her reputation, cutting off her support.
And the mother-in-law, she buys it.
She does. And in that kind of historical setting, the mother-in-law often holds a lot of social power, right? The final judge of social truth. So she steps in, that sides with her son, reinforces the idea that the wife needs to suppress her feelings. She tells her to curb her jealousy, says she should put on makeup and wear your crimson kimono again.
Wow.
Yeah. Basically telling her, the problem isn't him cheating, the problem is you're not attractive enough anymore. Just brutal.
So she's completely alone. The source material here is just heartbreaking. It emphasizes no one believed me. Not friends, not women at the market, not even the shrine maiden she goes to for, spiritual help. Everyone labels her unstable, unraveling. And the husband, he keeps up this facade. The poor victim of a clingy, insecure wife.
And the psychological pressure of that, it must have been immense, being forced to smile, bow, pour tea, act like the good wife, all while knowing her reality is being systematically torn apart. It really raises an important question, What happens when your reality is just denied constantly, when the only path left feels like madness, the physical body? It looks for an escape the social world just won't allow.
That's the key connection. The narrative seems to confirm that. Her inner torment starts demanding this external physical truth. She dreams every night, it says, of her neck getting longer, creeping toward truth. So the long neck, the physical horror, it isn't random at all. It's like the ultimate desperate way to see what she's forbidden to see and maybe escape the noose of those societal expectations too.
It's a physical manifestation of her suppressed truth.
So he failed to break her spirit completely, emotionally. So the husband moves to the final act. How does the source frame this shift?
Through more deception, which just highlights his ongoing cruelty, really, he comes to her acting unusually tender, offers her a special tea, a calming blend from Kyoto, and she drinks it. Even though it tastes bitter, unfamiliar, why? Because the source says devastatingly she still wanted to believe him.
Yeah.
Even then, after everything, there's that tiny flicker of hope that maybe she's wrong.
And that tea. Obviously, it wasn't just calming tea.
No, a paralytic, maybe poison. She collapses. But she wakes up later, horrifically aware but paralyzed. And he hasn't just poisoned her. He's strung her up from a ceiling beam. Her throat's burning from the rope. He's making it look like suicide.
Oh my God. To fit his narrative.
Precisely. It's chillingly calculated. Reinforces the story he spun, the crazy wife driven to suicide by jealousy, and then she smells lantern oil. He's setting the house on fire to destroy the evidence, complete the illusion. She's trapped, rope, paralysis, fire closing in.
She absolutely should have died right there. But this is the moment, isn't it? The moment the psychological Owenlin breaks through and triggers the physical change. The source describes it as happening between fire and breath. Incredible.
Yes. The body reacts to that psychological need, that imperative for truth. She feels this pull, the fulfillment of those earlier dreams. Her spine cracks, her neck just expands. It stretches longer and longer. It keeps going until her feet actually touch the floor again, even while the rest of her body is still hanging in the rope. The rope isn't choking her anymore. The physical manifestation of her truth, her will to see, has literally overcome the instrument of his murder.
And she slips free. How is it described?
Her neck, it's described chillingly as snaking through the fire like a silk banner of death. She escapes the burning house frame, and the neighbors see it.
What do they see?
This horrifying sight, right? A woman's head, connected only by this impossible twisting coil of flesh, floating through smoke and flames. That's when they give it the name, Rokurokubi. She's reborn from that wreckage, physical and psychological, as this immortal spirit.
Wow. So her new existence, it's fueled by that concentrated vengeance that Owen Han you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What's her life like now?
Her existence becomes pure judgment. The source calls her a breath beneath the door, a shadow above the futon. She's woven into the fabric of domestic lies, domestic deceit. At first, her vengeance is, well, targeted but subtle, whispering awful truths, dark thoughts to unfaithful men, watching them shatter one by one under guilt, paranoia.
But she hasn't forgotten the main target.
Yeah.
The source of it all.
Never. She tracks him down, finds him eventually, new town, living this seemingly clean life. He has a new wife, pregnant, and he's wearing that same smug, gentle face, the mask he used while destroying her. He really thinks he's escaped his karma.
So she confronts him. Direct.
Oh yes, slips right through the floorboards. A shadow stretching up beside the bed, hovers over him while he sleeps, her neck elongated like a vine, her face just inches from his. The terror must have been absolute.
How does he react when he wakes?
It's immediate, absolute terror. And in this perfect, terrible echo of the original dream, he doesn't hesitate. He lunges for the katana he keeps under the futon, and he swings.
But it's useless this time, right?
Utterly meaningless.
Right.
The sword just passes through phantom flesh. Her head tumbles onto the Tommy mat with a soft thud. But it doesn't die. It just turns, looks up at him, and smiles, and whispers the most devastating line. You cannot kill what you've already murdered. She's immortal now because his cruelty made her immortal.
Chilling. And then the vengeance becomes physical.
Yes. The karmic reversal hits him physically. Her neck coils around him, wraps around his arms, his torso, and the source details this truly visceral effect. Flesh decayed on contact. Black veins bloom under his skin. He's basically experiencing the physical rot of his own soul projected onto his body by her touch.
And then the final twist. The most unforgettable part of this particular origin, the new wife.
Right. The new pregnant wife stirs, wakes up to this horror above her. She screams. And as she screams, her water breaks.
And the child that's born.
Is not human. No. The source delivers the ultimate horror right here. The child has a long neck and face exactly like hers. The first Rokurokubi, it's described as a creature born from Oanhan, from hatred and vengeance itself. The husband's sin is now generational, embodied in the very child he hoped would give him a fresh start.
That ending, it feels almost excessively cruel, especially to the new wife, the child. Does the source suggest she deserved that somehow, or is it all about his karma?
No, the focus is absolutely on his inescapable fate. The new wife is collateral damage, really. Another victim of his lies. The Rokurokubi's final words to him seal it. It's a threat, but also a promise. I will always come back because my neck still stretches, and you cannot escape your karma.
He's cursed now. Cursed to watch his sin live on, not just as a haunting spirit, but in the distorted reflection of his own child. So this deep dive into this specific Rokurokubi origin, it really gives us this powerful psychological story, doesn't it? It directly links the trauma of betrayal, of being utterly isolated by society, to the physical horror of the yokai. It feels like more than just a legend. It's a metaphor, maybe, for how deep guilt, deep psychological wounds have to find some kind of outlet, often a horrifying one.
Absolutely. And you have to remember the intense pressure, the control this wife was under. The real horror wasn't just the, death by fire and rope. It was the psychological murder that came first. And the curse makes sure his sin lives on, stretching out forever, just like her neck, denying him that clean slate he tried to buy with murder and lies.
The source material ends with that unforgettable line, "You cannot escape your karma." So as you think about this story, maybe consider not just the physical stretching neck, but the psychological stretching, the stretching of truth, of sanity that created the monster in the first place. When a fundamental truth is denied, systemically, and you're forced into a lie, what kind of terrifying, vengeful transformations might that pressure breed even today? That's definitely something to think about.
In the end, she wasn't just haunting her husband, she was haunting the truth he buried. Her curse wasn't vengeance, it was justice long denied. We fear her face, her form, her neck, that never stops stretching. But maybe what we really fear is what she represents. The weight of guilt, the echo of silence, and the cost of betraying those who trust us most. The Rokurokubi doesn't just hunt the unfaithful, she reminds us that even in death, some truths refuse to stay buried.